How much infantry do you want inside the Baltic Battalion? How strong is the CV-9035 along with the Leopard 288? And what specializations make a good combination with the Baltic Battalion? You'll find answers to all of these questions in today's video of Broken Arrow DLC news. Good day to you, my name's Corn, and let's get straight into it. So when looking at the infantry that the devs posted a couple of days back, the first question I got was, with 6 roles and units from 3 different nations, how on earth are we going to build a deck out of it? I mean, that's 17 units, and we're not even counting the infantry units from the other specialization we're pairing it with, just to put into 7 small spots. So my first guess was that, what if we just locked in into using units from one single nation? For example, if I pick Estonia, then all my infantry must be from Estonia, which wouldn't really make sense since Latvia doesn't have a special forces unit, so therefore I don't think anyone would really want to play Latvia at all. My second guess is we get to pick whatever units we want out of the 17 squads we have in the game. But that also doesn't feel right, because, I mean, do you want to play against an opponent that has at least 3 ATGM teams and like 5 top tier units? I mean, that sounds like cancer, and I'd rather just call the DLC the Balanced Broken Spec rather than the Baltic Battalion. It's quite stupid. So this is probably the most important question that or hopefully the devs answer in their dev stream a couple of days later, probably a day after the release of this video, because I'm trying my best to get this released as soon as possible. But regardless, the vehicles are still a bigger indicator of what this specialization can and cannot achieve. To start with the Recon tab, the Combat Vehicle Reconnaissance Tract, or the CVRT family, is a series of lightweight vehicles developed by the British Army in the 1970s. These variants will be introduced to the game. There are 2 variants basically, the FV-103 Spartan, a small but fast troop transport, along with the FV-107 Scimitar, armed with a 30mm cannon that can be fired in a burst of 6 rounds. Something interesting is that there is, in fact, an ATGM variant of the Spartan called the FV-120 that is equipped with Milan missiles. Unfortunately, these vehicles were never exported to Latvia. So, in an official news article back in 2020 that I had to dig up, apparently the Ministry of Defense that they had a news post about mentioned that the CVRT platforms instead received various upgrades that include the Spike ATGM. And in the screenshot of the streams post that the devs had a couple of days back, you can find that there is in fact a Spike on the Spartan, poking out of the side of the MG turret or whatever that is. So I'm pretty sure that this is confirmed. And then the TGB 1111 is a vehicle from Sweden. Its full name is the... Sorry, excuse me a little bit, I need to prepare for this. Its full name is the Pansarvärnspjästerrängbil 1111, which the game has done a really good job compressing. It has a 90mm recoilless rifle made by Bofors, mounted on a L3304 model. This is a Volvo car, which was an open-top vehicle that was eventually phased out for the closed-top L3314, and we also know that car as the Laplander. So it's pretty safe to conclude that this vehicle is a very unique spectacle of military equipment with really limited use. Meanwhile, there's also the Wolf WMIK, whatever that is. One of the things that actually surprised me about this is that they actually included all 3 nation special forces in the Baltic Battalion, which we'll know more about whatever they can do when more information is released in the dev stream one day later. And what we do know is that the Special Forces of Lithuania, or Lithsov, does use the Land Rover Wolf, and it can carry 6 passengers while also mounting some kind of HMG or GL on top. So I'm guessing that this might just be the equivalent to the Arsov from the SOF specialization. That's my guess, and also the end of the Recon tab. As for vehicles, one of the most successful ISV exports of the 21st century, we're going to be talking about the CV90 that would also make an appearance in the Baltic Battalion because Lithuania joined the multinational CV90 acquisition program a couple years back. According to the official post from Lithuania's Ministry of National Defense, the Mk.IV will have access to Spike LR, APS, and also a 35mm autocannon, which shares little to no differences to the configuration that the Netherlands and Slovakia have ordered with their Mk.IVs as well. From their in-game performance, their cannon and thick armor will probably establish as the strongest IFV in the game just because of how the model currently in the game already performs. And I have high hopes for this one, and we just need to know how much it costs and how many spikes it gets for an in-game for balancing. Next on the list, we have the Vilkas IV, which was created by 3 or 4, if you include the French that dropped out halfway, European nations. And the Boxers were exported to Lithuania, and they featured an unmanned Bushmaster 2, along with 2 spikes on top of them. Which, interestingly enough, the Boxers that were under production in Australia were initially designed to have the Iron Fist APS installed. However, it turned out to be too heavy for the turret, and eventually a couple years later, Germany managed to get both the Strike Shield and the Trophy APS installed into them. I have no clue if the Vilkas will have access to the APS, but mainly because Lithuania's order for Vilkas were almost 5 years before Australia started to test the implementation of APS on these IVs. But from a balancing perspective, do they really need it? As you know already, the K-16 Boomerang that's in Russian's motorized specialization doesn't really seem to have APS in real life as well, but they do. So we'll have to see if they do get APS or not, and then we'll be able to know if these vehicles will be good. And then next on the list we have 2 rather less important vehicles, but from the in-game model of the XA180, I'm guessing this is probably a fast vehicle whose survivability is definitely not comparable to the slower but sturdier M113. The XA180 also has amphibious capabilities in real life, and regardless, they should be on the cheaper end of transport vehicles since they have literal offensive capabilities as battle taxis. And then after the infantry transport, we're finally getting into the real deal, which is the Leopard 288. As the newest upgrade in the Leopard 2 family, the 288 with that Lithuania ordered has access to APS, which means the Baltic Battalion, just like the USMC and Armored Brigade, does have a reliable tank to turn to when you're in need of it. The devs are also showcasing 3 different builds of the 288. One seems to just be the stock configuration. One has a bit more armor, and the other seems to have APS, except it's kind of hard to see with the camo and how far back it is. The next vehicle that we have is actually an unmanned vehicle that's developed by an Estonian company. And even though the wiki page does say that the Type X can equip a 50mm cannon, the models that they've showcased it in-game show otherwise. One of them seems to have a turret that looks a lot like that of the Striker RV with a missile next to it. The middle one has the biggest turret, but doesn't seem to be as big as the CV9035's turret. And the last one also has some ATGMs on the side of the smaller turret. The armament of these vehicles seem pretty cool, while the armor, which on the wiki page states that it's StatNag 4569, and it's a protection standard found on logistics and light armored vehicles. So probably not expecting too much from this one. And last but not least, the G-Wagen. It's a truck developed from Mercedes-Benz. It seems to be another car like the IFAV that runs really fast with an ATGM on top. So it's probably just going to be a meme truck, that I'd say. After that, we're moving on to the support tab, which includes 3 tube artillery pieces, which is even more than what the Armored Brigade has, and probably comparable to that of mechanized and something like that. And that kind of implements that this deck requires the player to rely more on recon to figure out where to barrage and what units to do to hit hard, rather than using the large AoE of MLRS to clear positions. Along with the SAMs and supply vehicles that the Baltic Battalion offers, it's really a well-functioning support tab, and maybe with the exception of MLRS, which they don't have, but that's okay. Meanwhile, the Heli and Air tab, as much as they seem to suck, it actually comes at a blessing in disguise, because even if they offer as little as 250 points, which is the minimum, in the Helicopter and Air tab, they might just help you get an extra unit that you wanted really bad, and you just couldn't if you were using the Armored Brigade as a combination in your deck. So, what specs will be good with the Baltic Battalion? Personally speaking, I don't think that the deck will be as good as with the Armored or Striker, since all three of them have pretty decent IVs, and they also lack helicopters for QRF. The only good part about this is having access to MLRS, which I think would interest people who already enjoy Armored Striker. And instead, pairing the Baltic Battalion with USMC, Airborne, or SOF are probably a better deck to play. All three of these specs have decent infantry, helicopters, and planes to support the already promising ground vehicles thanks to their APS, especially the CV90. The lack of MLRs is indeed a problem, but on the other hand, the biggest weakness of Striker Marines or Striker SOF, which happen to be the most popular meta decks, they don't have tube artillery either, and the Baltic Battalion has them. And as the making of this video, we don't really have that much information. I'm kind of baiting you again, haha. Thanks for watching. We'll have to tune in on the dev stream on March 16th and find out for ourselves to see if there are any more information for me to digest. And until then, I'll make up a follow-up video to summarize what they've mentioned. So if you do want to see more, please make sure that you're subscribed and maybe join our Discord or comment below to share your thoughts. Special thanks to the channel supporters. My name is Korn, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye. Are you busy?
Yeah, I'm playing Dota.
Oh, okay. You're playing Dota and you're trying to teach me how to play. That is one of the most sweetest things you can ever do.
We just got first blood this one, so
okay,
easy
not
peasy.
bad. Good start.